Share Shootout brought to you by Lion of Africa Insurance, insuring South Africa's future.
You're watching the most ferocious stock-picking show on television. This is Share Shootout League. I'm Bruce Whitfield, right here on CNBC Africa, first in business worldwide. Now, was Thuli Madonsela spotted outside the US consulate applying for a visa before being accused as a spy? Was the South African delegation visit to Lesotho just a free holiday paid for by the Guptas, or did they get diplomatic immunity? And are you supporting a week-long boycott of Generations, as Kusatu has asked? Certainly Share Shootout League is on a lifetime boycott. Now, we don't know the answers to any of these baseless questions. What we do know is the Share Shootout League is taking on a life of its own. Just check out the results as voted for you on Twitter last week. Leven, the good guy, coming up good with a series of decent results. He's now won 2 of his last 5 matches, moving him to 6 points now, equal with the Scott, Maverick, Bucks and K-Live. As for the slick Americana Chi-Town, he's back to the drawing board. He's won only 1. And that is the Risky Faces, of course. We have a look there. Neo, the 1 is on 3, and of course Matthew, Chi-Town is on 3 as well. Now, remember, you are the decider. You choose tonight's winner and ultimately the winner of the Share Shootout League. All you have to do is follow at Share Shootout League and you tweet any of the stock pickers hashtags, and for whatever reason, we will count it. So let's look at today's match. Our first stock picker has just come back from an American work and play timeout with his mum-in-law, of course. And our second stock picker is the most loved fund manager in the Twitter sphere. Let's check out the players.
Stand by for action.
My name is Alexander Naryshkine, but Sasha is short for Alexander. Call me Sasha, please. Everything from answering the phones.
Oldfield? Yes, I've heard of that company.
To attending to client emails. To, make payments, everything. We like to answer our own phones because when someone phones, strangely, they want to speak to us. Ignore lots of the noise in the short term, buy the quality and stick with it for as long as possible. Get inside Bruce's head just to try and confuse him as much as possible. Yeah, and act like Carl Icahn. Outrageous, like this board is pathetic. I've never seen such a useless board, when of course it's someone else's pick. Yeah, that's how I think I'm gonna win. Yeah, but you mustn't tell my competitors. Warren Buffett. No, I'm kidding. Has to be Bruce Whitfield. He's way too clever for everybody on this show, so if I can beat him, I'll be happy. I just need to beat Bruce, then I think I'll win this league, yeah.
My name is Clive Ramathibela-Smith, and I am the Chief Investment Officer of Inkunzi Investments. My investment philosophy is keeping to the fundamentals of investing, so keeping it simple and straightforward, stick to the basics and make sure that you create phenomenal traction from that. My game plan for the league is to make fun of everybody else and make sure that they get embarrassed at the end of the show so that I can win simply because I get public preference. My biggest competition in the show, and it has nothing to do with investment philosophy at all, it would be Gary, simply because he's tall and big and I'm terrified of him. I don't stand a chance. I'm going to win the league because I feel that I've got the right criteria and the right material to make sure that I win the league. I qualify better on the BEE scorecard, so I hope that will help.
Well, both Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact and Clive Ramathibela-Smith from Inkunzi Investments are tied on 6 points. This is a chance for one of them to break free and get a 3-point gap. Whoever wins will be on 9 points, and they'll then have a pretty good idea of getting to the semi-final. So, gentlemen, who wants to move first? Sasha, do you go first, or do we make the guy with that pepperminty thing around his neck?
No, he told me on good authority that it's not his dress code, it's his wife.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yes, nobody uses that excuse. I'm not sure which is worse, taking your mother-in-law to New York, I'm sure she's perfectly lovely, or wearing that tie. I think that tie deserves greater punishment, frankly. So, Clive Ramathibela-Smith, let's go with you first.
Because I've been punished already.
An interesting one. The multiple is low. The share price has been massively volatile, courtesy of the fact that they've got a big investment in JD Group. JD Group's debts were awful, but Steinhoff doing pretty well in Europe. Give me in 30 seconds why you like him.
We got rid of the credit. We got rid of it. It's gone. So that means that everybody was expecting that to be reviewing results that were terrible. Fantastic stuff. 33% up. European business doing well. They're going to be fighting with the likes of IKEA, which is fantastic. My biggest storyline here is that this fact that this stock went from being at 44 rand in a week to being at 56.4 cents in just 1 week, just because of the recovery on the actual story. So if you got the story wrong, you lost out on a chance.
You did. The share price, however, did pull back quite sharply after that. It's traded again below the 50s. Is Steinhoff one that you can stomach, Sasha?
Bruce, you've got such a short memory. In the last round that I had, I went long Steinhoff. So
you must realise that I had listened to absolutely nothing you say,
yeah.
Paul.
Well,
I'm sorry, what's your name?
The guy that wanders around with his mother-in-law.
Well, yes, you.
That guy.
This guy.
That guy.
By the way, Paul Ferron himself, in actual fact, short Steinhoff. I don't know if he'll agree
So
now.
did Paul...
He did on Hot Stocks.
Such a long time ago.
Can
I tell you what's happened in between now and then?
Please, between Paul's shorts and your trousers, I'd love to know.
Obviously, I think an uplift in a European context. So when Mario Draghi stood up and said, we'll do everything in our power, in a better Italian accent than mine, to save the euro, there was suddenly a lot of excitement about an asset that they bought at a deep discount from a distressed seller, also who had a significant property portfolio. So they've done a lot of things right. But what people forget about Steinhoff is they actually tried to buy JD Group at 3 times or 4 times the price that they're at.
This is about 10 years
when
ago.
they were, it's probably about 4 or 5 years ago, when Steinhoff themselves were probably a third of the size that they are now. So imagine if they'd done that deal. It would have actually been terrible at the time. But notwithstanding that, that's like water under the bridge. I'm going to go with Clive on this one, because I'm sure you're going to push me for an answer.
Somebody tells me that a hedge fund actually started to short them. That's just rumor on the tweet.
Right.
On the tweet.
On the Twitter.
It must be true. If you
being the president of South African Twitter.
Absolutely.
Being the most loved person on South Africa.
The
most loved.
Thank you.
Which is not a president.
I think they said something about my laugh. I don't know what's wrong with it.
There's nothing compared to your tie, your laugh is unobtrusive.
Oh, right.
There we go. Okay, so Steinhoff has accepted. Congratulations on that one. Steinhoff has been very volatile recently, but both Clive and Sasha, fans of Steinhoff. You taking your offshore allocation first this evening.
Yes.
I would have expected, after the hoopla and massive emotional outpourings of joy and happiness around Apple introducing the wristwatch back into civilized society once again, that you would have gone with Apple.
But I have already.
But you have before,
Yes.
and so you're diversifying your offshore portfolio, and you're giving us a little caffeine shot this evening, a milky caffeine shot at that, with a punt on Starbucks in 30 seconds. Why?
Starbucks, look, I mean, coffee is the only daytime drug that nobody frowns upon. Interesting that people are prepared to pay between $5 and $6 for a latte, but they're rolling out their store infrastructure heavily, and they appeal to a new young clientele who aren't visiting the traditional American outlets such as Wendy's, McDonald's and Burger King, and they're going for more upmarket product. Rolling out really quickly globally too. Fabulous margins. Staff are wonderful.
There we go.
Nothing short of wonderful.
What is your mum-in-law's favourite coffee when she goes to Starbucks? Because you'd have to order and pay for it.
Simple cappuccino.
Simple cappuccino.
It's not Americano, is it?
No, it's not Americano. She likes the simple things in life.
Okay,
His mother-in-law, that's why she likes her son-in-law. Okay, so Starbucks gets the big thumbs up this evening. Do you like Starbucks? I'm a big fan of going into Starbucks. Would I want to own the shares? They've had their ups and downs, of course, strategic missteps in the past. Do we like them?
They're still strong despite everything. When you think of Waterloo, the first thing that comes to mind is Starbucks. And that's because if you think about any big station, in actual fact, Europe, America.
Actually, I think if I think of Waterloo,
Napoleon Bonaparte.
I think Costa Coffee, because Costa Coffee always had a stand in the middle of Waterloo Station. I can't picture where the Starbucks is there, but I'll let it slide.
You'll let it slide for just for now.
Just for now.
But what I like is what the argument that he's brought apart is that they're going for the young people, and it's because the fact that people are starting to stay far away from offices and they want to be consultants and whatever. I don't know if it's still agreeable, but that's what's happening now. So the new type of entrepreneur, the new type of consultant starts using that kind of space to do all their work and have coffee and be on the run at the same time. So I like that story.
You like the story. What's the pricing like of Starbucks? Not the cups of coffee, but the shares.
It's very demanding. It's somewhere in the region of 27 to 28. But they're growing earnings. But they're growing earnings at 20% plus. So I think on that sort of multiple, it's acceptable. Plus, also Oprah gave their Teavana, which is their tea business, the thumbs up. And if you get the thumbs up from Oprah,
But it's not on
I can't
show.
believe you're basing investment decisions on what Oprah Winfrey
No, I was saying
says.
Tivana, which is a business that they bought. But I mean, it's a fabulous, fabulous model, and they're expanding globally as well. So
Have you not just fallen in love with Starbucks because you've been to New York, and in New York Starbucks is cool and it's funky?
No, it confirmed everything in terms of the investment thesis. So, you know, hipsters, those are the people with the rolled up jeans and loafers and a bit of a beard going. You know, those guys love.
So how did you feel going into that environment?
Very foreign.
I feel like a hippie.
You like it?
I do like
You'll take it?
I like a shot.
You'll take a double shot?
Double shot, please.
With cream?
With cream.
On Starbucks.
No sugar.
There we go. Well, as long as you keep your health in mind, that's what's important to me, Clive. Okay, so Starbucks gets the thumbs up. There it is at a multiple of about 28 times. Not too rich for Sasha's blood. Let's move on, Clive Ramathibela-Smith, to stock pick number 2. This is one that if David Shapiro from Sasfin was standing where Sasha is, he would fall on the ground and start crying because it is his least loved share on the JSE. But even he's had to admit that Sappi is less awful than it used to be. Why do you like Sappi in 30 seconds?
I like the name of the new CEO, Mr. Binny. But anyway, apart
Mr.
from
Recycle Binny.
Mr. Recycle Binny.
Yes.
But they've done fantastically well if you take about the 5-year term turnaround strategy and to go into the European market with this fancy, glossy market. And I think with the rates going down in the Eurozone, what will that do? It will also be forced by the ECB to actually create more demand, which will obviously mean that we'll need more and more of those Playboy magazines being printed. So I'm hoping that this is the case for me, for Sappi to be put on the list.
There we go. Now you're going to get shot down on this one because Mr. Internet, and he hasn't touched a piece of paper in 15 years, as Sasha Naryshkine. Certainly hasn't flicked through a magazine of any description over the last 15 years. He frowned at me the other day when I walked in with a copy of a physical magazine. He called me a Luddite, and that was the polite part of the conversation. Exactly right. I mean, Sappi makes glossy paper. Glossy paper is used in magazines. Magazines were supposed to be dead by now, but they're not, Sasha. Is there a business model for Sappi left?
What I'm going to say is that you know, more than 2/3 of sales are in North America and Europe. So, you know, when you're looking at sales of devices like the one you're holding in your hand there, Bruce, those are the richest people who are buying such products.
That's hard. This isn't mine, for the record.
It's your producer's,
yes. He's rich.
He's rich, yeah. That's where all the money is. Interestingly, Bruce, the cellulose business, which I think a lot of people have got excited about, they used to be the biggest producer in the world. They're not going to be very soon because there are lots of Chinese producers. So that's the kind of, I guess you could still call it an organic product that's used to make shirts and, you know, replace cotton. Now the cotton prices come down because pricing has been rather favorable, etc. I just don't see them getting any more traction than beyond this. Plus all the directors have been selling all their options that were underwater for ever so long. So no, at a
one last attempt, Clive.
Go, Clive, go.
I believe strongly in the turnaround strategy, and if you look at the results, the recent results, it's been up 17.5% on headline earnings. So I think that is my reason why I think this business does still have a lot to offer, and they will be able to transact or to transform into whatever is required at the time when they need to make sure that the business is actually profitable.
Okay. I mean, they went from Eugene van Us to Jonathan Leslie, back to Eugene van Us. Now Mr. Binny has taken over. There has been a high CEO turnover. It's a much smaller business than it used to be, Sasha. You're not buying it one
and
moment.
Ralph Butcher.
Ralph Butcher was there, of course, was there too.
So no, this is the tragedy of being stuck in the wrong business in the wrong era. You know, I mean, for me, unfortunately. So, you know, kaboom. Yeah, I have to. Sorry,
you're shot down.
Clive, I like you so much.
I'll get a piece of paper for you later.
There we go. You can write down a commitment of some description to it. Sasha Naryshkine from Vestact. Let's have a look. You talk about businesses from another era. You're very firmly entrenched in this era in a business that is 20 years old.
Yes.
I'm interested as to why you're still so optimistic about the prospects for MTN. It's had a very good run. It's going to cost you over 250 Rand a share to get into MTN. Give me a sense of why you still like it.
Look, I mean, I think the end game here is for people to have a lot more data usage. So, you know, data is still growing at a rapid rate. They've got 215 million subscribers, of only which less than 40 million actually have smartphones. So I think the end game here is, and because Africa has skipped the fixed line generation, more importantly, you can't go back to the fixed line operators and say, well, they're going to give me a cheaper rate on data, because there isn't one that exists. So simple demographic story and size and scale.
And you're one of those guys who can't wait for the phablet from Apple, the iPhone 6 Plus, they're calling it. They're slightly smaller than this device, slightly bigger than a cell phone device, that is actually going to become possibly ubiquitous.
And remember the watch. Yeah, you're going to. What was the joke? Sorry, what is next quarter's financials from Apple going to be?
And you ask Siri, does Siri know?
Siri, well, of course she must know. She knows everything. She knows everything.
Okay.
She didn't know what is the fastest R animals.
Yes.
Okay, let's not be mean about Siri. We may need her at some point in the future. Okay, so do we like the story that Sasha is telling this evening? I don't know. MTN,
No.
over $250, getting expensive. It's sort of grown into itself almost.
It has. It's becoming like the Titanic, and it's about to sink.
Oh,
and you know what? I promise you, I don't see how they're going to expand before this. First and foremost, I'll tell you something that's very interesting. I don't like the fact that they went and gone back to the same manager or get management again, because they can't get somebody who's more productive or who's more.
What are you talking about?
He's talking about.
I'm talking about the management.
Okay.
About
The
Mr.
chairman.
Do you want me to say the name? All right, cool.
Say
The other
Phuthuma
thing-
Nhleko, go on.
Yeah, they had to go back to him because they can't
Say
move
it.
forward. They
Say
can't go
Phuthuma
forward.
Nhleko.
Let's just move on to the
You
next
from
point.
Buckinghamshire. Say Phuthuma Nhleko. Yes.
The next point that I want to raise here is that they seem to be always reactive rather than proactive. They've been beaten down by the likes of Vodacom and Cell C when it comes to innovation. They need to start going back to the basics and do things the traditional way, which is what the South African market, and target that. There's still a huge, massive. They can't catch up to Vodacom because Vodacom has got. It's not about rates. It's not about pricing. It's all about making it easy and accessible to the public, and especially to the lower LSM, which they're struggling to penetrate.
Okay, so MTN gets shot down in flames. Kaboom. You've been blasted away there, Sasha.
See yellow.
All of your favorites. Yellow goes red. There we go. We'll shoot off to a break in just a moment. These guys will carry on like this for the whole night if we let them, but we won't, so you'll be fine. Let's just revisit some of the shares tonight. Clive Ramathibela-Smith from Inkunzi Investments. Steinhoff and Sappi. Steinhoff accepted, Sappi shot down. And for Sasha, he likes Starbucks, and so, of course, does Clive, who likes the double shot, double cream, extra latte with no sugar, because he's worried about his waistline. And MTN Group, of course, is one that he's a big fan of, is Sasha Naryshkine, but Clive Ramathibela-Smith isn't buying it for a moment. We'll be back in a moment to talk all about who will bag the next 3 points. You don't need to go away, because we want you to vote this evening for either the nice Clive or the nice Sasha. That's all coming up in just a couple of minutes' time. You're watching CNBC Africa, first in business worldwide. This is Share Shootout League, the only league with big money portfolio managers who don't play football. Remember, this is match day number 21, and through your Twitter votes, one of our stock pickers can join the big boys club. They're currently on 6 points. Who will move to 9? It's all entirely up to you. You follow at Share Shootout League, and you either vote for K Live, or Bucks, he's the one without a tie. This evening, Sasha Naryshkine, who goes by the name Bucks, has got Starbucks, or MTN. We like Starbucks, we don't like MTN. We've shot that one down, or Clive has at least. And Clive Ramathibela-Smith from Inkunzi Investments, he has chosen Steinhoff, accepted, Sappi, shot down. So where will we go in the final stretch as we get to the last stock picks of the evening? Clive Ramathibela-Smith, you and your tie went first, so we will give it to Sasha this evening. Did you, during the break, call your mother-in-law and say, "Hey Mum, how am I doing? Is everything okay?"
No, we were going to discuss the Arsenal transfer window with Clive. That would have been much more fun. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, you're in so much trouble. Right, let's go on to your final pick this evening. You don't like telecommunications, certainly fixed line telecommunications one little bit. You're not buying the phenomenal Telkom turnaround story. Telkom at over $60 a share does not entice you. I don't know what's wrong with you. Maybe you haven't lost your marbles after all, because in 30 seconds you're going short on Telkom.
That's right. I mean, it's sad that, we've got this wonderful fixed line infrastructure, but yet ICASA and government can't get their house in order. And that's in part because government's got a 40% stake in Telkom. Telkom could do so much better we'd all have cheaper broadband, but the aforementioned Vodacom and MTN successes come from a failing on the result of the fixed line infrastructure. The price might have done really well, but I don't buy it. The fixed line calls and voice, that's just going back.
But isn't what has happened at Telkom historical in the context of Sipho Maseko has taken over at Telkom with high-level support from the chairman and from the board, which is a far more professional board than Telkom has had probably since the days of Sizwe and Kasana. And they are not quite standalone. There's still the big brother pressure in the background, but they've been allowed to be a lot more independent.
They've been a lot more independent, and in fact I think their service levels have increased substantially. But now you're talking to a customer who's using the alternative, no matter where you go in South Africa, you've got a pretty good signal from the other service providers quite quickly, and we've got a very young population. What are they all using? They're using their handsets, and they want a better one.
You're shorting Telkom. You're that convinced that the momentum that has been driving out Telkom is running out of steam, and we're going to see a share price pullback.
Yes.
Okay, Clive Ramathibela-Smith. It's hard to shoot down a short on Telkom. I could see your eyes lighting up as you thought he's going long on Telkom, the idiot. This is easy to shoot down, but he's shorting it, which makes it a lot harder for you.
It does make it a bit harder for me, but I do think if it was a year ago and it couldn't break through the 40 Rand mark, then you'd be like, yeah, maybe not. But at this point in time, it's sitting at 63 Rand. I'm thinking that he might be calling it wrong in this particular case. Because the stock keeps on rallying. That's the truth of the matter.
Shares keep on rallying until they stop. Absolutely. He believes it will stop. You don't believe it will.
No, I don't think it will stop immediately. I think that you've got some time that it can actually rally up. I think you can look at reaching 70 Rand before the end of the year. And that's why I'm saying to him that maybe shorting it now is not such a great idea.
Why will it not reach $70 by the end of the year, Sasha?
Look, I think a lot of people, deep value people who've done their homework, would suggest that at some sort of level, Telkom has to be worth what, if you unpicked all their assets together.
You pulled all the wire out the ground and you melted it down and you exported it to China.
Yes. Well, or something like that, because it's got to be worth something to someone at some level. The problem is you're reducing your head count, and let's be honest, they don't even have 1 million ADSL lines. Now, if you look at between Vodacom and MTN, they've got over 15 million data subscribers. Where are you going with the future of the business?
It's your short. You're not buying it. You're shooting down the short on Telkom. You believe it'll hit $70 before the end of this year.
Bring back the money. Bring back the money. That's what I say with Telkom. And it's going to bring it back.
Bring back the taste. Bring back the taste. Bring back the taste.
Okay.
He asked me not to mention the TIE, so I'm not. So I'm just saying bring back the taste.
Well, at least he has one.
Precisely. Unlike the rest of us. Okay. So far, we are tied. I mentioned tie. And let's go into your final stock pick this evening, Clive Ramathibela-Smith. You're going with all the Afrikaners this evening. You're liking Stellenbosch. You're liking Steinhoff. You're liking Sappi, which had a bunch of Afrikaans people running it in the past. And you're liking Zeder.
Zeder is baie maklik. It's very nice business.
Moeilik, maklik.
Moeilik, prachtig.
There we go.
That's it. And the first thing that impresses me about these guys is how diversified they are. Their businesses, they're sitting with 15 different units in the agricultural space. They've got exposure to Pioneer Foods, which is amazing. It's doing relatively well. And they still have a very strong management team. I just want to remind you as well that they're exposed to Distel, which that's what exposes them to the winery. So this is fantastic business, and I think it's strong, and I think it's going to grow from here.
There we go. He'll say prachtig, but he won't say Putuma and Kleko. Okay.
That's racist.
It's an observation. It's hard not to like Zeder. Yanni Baton loves Zeder.
Because he's got a sheep farm near Collettsdorp.
Completely. But he's a big fan of Zeder. He sees this as his new Capitec, or maybe his new Curo.
Or does he see Curo as his new Curo?
Come on.
That's harsh.
Okay, we're getting a bit philosophical. Do you like Zeder?
No, the short answer is no. For the purposes of this game, I don't know, agricultural assets in South Africa just remind me about land reform here, how it's being pushed out a little bit longer.
Do you think Juge is actually going to do this?
Well, no. In fairness, I don't think it's going to happen. But from an investment point of view, what does that do? It puts a cap on it because people don't want to allocate new capital at higher and higher prices.
But isn't this an Africa agricultural play? Isn't this a food security play for the next 20, 30 years?
Yeah, well, we've heard that for the last 2-3 decades. Africa's going to feed the world.
And we've seen Zeder share price grow incrementally in recent years.
Yeah, but in a world of choices, an agricultural asset, I'd much rather own the people who sell them fertilizer like Omnia.
Okay, there we go. So
I'm very worried about that.
At the risk of speaking fertilizer,
Fertilizers.
there we go. You're sticking with Zeder? You like Zeder?
I love
You love
Zeder.
Zeder?
Yeah.
And you're shooting it down?
I'm shooting it.
Natuurlijk. You are very good at this.
Lekker.
Okay, I'll tell you what. So 12 p.m. Central African time on Sunday, that's when we stop the count. But before then, absolutely anything goes. If you use the hashtags, hashtag Bucks or hashtag KLive or Bucks, or KLive and Bucks, we don't care. We will promise to count all of the votes, and we make no secret of the fact that we have no standards whatsoever. A little bit like our contestants. So, what did our contestants come up with this evening? Clive Ramathibela-Smith with Steinhoff and Sappi and Zeder. His Steinhoff pick was taken up first up, and of course Sasha shot down both Sappi and Zeder. Sasha's picks: Starbucks, MTN Group, and a short on Telkom. Starbucks is accepted happily by Clive Ramathibela-Smith, doesn't like MTN one little bit, and also he believes that we will be Luddites for longer, and the share price of Telkom will hit $70 before it goes anywhere lower. So join us again next time, 8:30 on Tuesday for match day number 22 on the most merciless stock picking and quite comedic show on television. Till next week, do stay voting and do stay participating, and most of all, stay cunning. Good night.